Hello and welcome to the Happiness Is podcast with me, your host, Bruce Aitchison from Happiness Egg Shaped, and it is back, the big silly smile, because I'm very excited about this one. Sevens is a game very close to my heart, although, let's face it, I was never really that good at it or got picked for it, but love watching. Hong Kong was an amazing place to live, so Sevens was a pretty special weekend. And then away you go and you watch in the Commonwealth Games and you watch the Olympics from afar and you just think, wow, what an opportunity. So if you're going to speak to somebody from Sevens, you go straight to the top. And I am absolutely delighted to welcome the one and the only GB Sevens star with a whole load of stories to tell, the one and the only Emma Uren. Let's bring her in. Hello there. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, very good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you for this, taking time out of your busy schedule.
No, it's more than okay. It's always nice to be able to talk about stuff, and it's something that I'm very passionate about, and I love Sevens, so it's an easy conversation to have.
It's a ridiculous game, though. When all is said and done and you break it down, 15s is ridiculous, but Sevens just takes ridiculousness to a whole new level.
Yeah, I fell in love with it pretty hard. I think that's the reason why, is because the extreme version of it, like it's extreme version of the game, and I would come off a training field in Sevens and walk off with an emotion, whether I was really happy with this training session, whether I was really angry, whether I was frustrated, or, my mind was going off in different ways of how to get better. And I think that's what I fell in love with, that every single training session or game would push me so far. Is you're defending with more space, you've got more space to attack, but you're also playing against some of the best players in the world as well.
Have you always needed that feeling? So looking back at Emma as a kid, getting in the swimming pool. Now, my youngest is 13 and swims 4 mornings a week, 3 evenings a week, just loves it, loves the stopwatch, loves the competition. Sometimes she'll get in the car and she'll say, "Oh, I was sick of my mouth today, Dad." But I kept going. That's a whole other level. Was that something you realized you loved?
Yeah, I do think swimming kind of shows the extreme side of it. You have to be in the pool. I was in the pool 9 times a week, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, I look back now and I think, how was that possible? I sometimes get in the pool for an hour and I struggle. So doing it 9 times a week was, there are some times as well, like we used to have bucket sessions. So similar to like what your daughter did, is actually the whole point was kind of you had a bucket on the side for you to throw up in. And I do think that's probably like the little bit side of me that's a bit tapped, that actually I really like that bit of it, and pushing myself to the extreme and kind of seeing what I can get out of myself. I've had times in swimming where I've pushed off and both my quads have cramped, one's released, and I kept going until one of them pretty much didn't let go anymore. So I think, I probably have always chased it, and I always like that side of it. And I think that's probably why I love Seven so much, is it's the closest thing that replicates that feeling of really pushing yourself to the limit.
Where's that come from? Like the human body tends, or the human mind tends to want things to be easy, and you've completely flipped that from very early.
I think part of it, was I'm not the most academic, so I've got dyslexia, and I'm also bilingual, so my English developed a lot slower, and I think I struggled a lot in school with spelling and being slower than everyone else. So for me, an outlet was sport. And my parents, whenever I was getting annoying at home, or you have those days where you push your parents a little bit too far, and I was arguing with them, as instead of my mum kind of having a go at me, she used to just chuck me out and go for a run. She was like, go and run now, go for an hour run and come back. And I would come back a completely different person. So I think personally, I've always used it to regulate my emotions, my energy, but also it's kind of been an outlet for me, as I could get away from everything in school and actually just know that I was good at it. And somewhere I actually really enjoyed that part of where it hurt. I don't know where that's come from, but yeah, just somehow I think found that I was quite good at it and actually enjoyed it. Ended up finding a way to enjoy it.
And now, whether, I'm not sure because I don't know you well, whether you accept being a role model or not, is that something that you can see now? Did you look at anyone and think, that's what I'm going to do, or were you just doing it for Emma?
People ask me this a lot, how people look up to people. I think I've never had a person I've looked up to. I think I've always done it for me because I've needed it, and I loved it. But I think the biggest people that have helped me to kind of help me look at it in a different way has been like my parents and actually my swim coach as well. Like he always had the Olympic rings. So he went to the Olympics and had a ring with the Olympic rings on it. And I don't know why, but it's always stuck in my head that actually that's what I wanted to do. So I think rather than actually, I didn't know what exact event he did at the time and what he did in it. I just knew he had gone to the Olympics. So I think I always did it for me and to push myself. But I've had lucky that I've had so many people around me to also allow me to achieve that dream about it.
And this is going to sound a little bit cheesy X Factor, but please bear with me. The journey is really important. So you have, like you've already said, I like the bucket session. I leave the training field and I've got an emotion. So you've obviously enjoyed the journey, but there is a destination in mind.
Yeah.
You've got to the Olympics twice, not in swimming that probably little Emma thought she was going to get to, but big Emma has got to the Olympics for rugby. Was that enough? Was reaching the Olympics enough?
Sitting here now, no. I think, when you're younger and you see it, you almost think it's going to be enough. But I think as an athlete now I just want to be the best version of myself. And I'm not sure when I'll ever be content with what I've done. But, I still want to now have an Olympic medal. I still want to do various different events. And I just want to keep pushing and being the best version that I am. And I think I've now got to the point I think I still have so much more in me that I haven't unlocked yet. And I think that's what keeps me going. And I'm not sure if what I've done is going to be enough. Like my cousin said that a few summers ago, like, oh, you're going to move on? Like you've done enough now. And I'm like, I don't think I have. Like, I just don't feel content enough that I've achieved everything. I think when you're in it, sometimes it's almost never enough. And I'm not sure when or how I'm going to hit that.
Yeah, you've got plenty of time. I hope you've got plenty of time.
I hope so anyway.
The other bit around the Olympics, you obviously, it was a big deal. You were thrown some setbacks before the Olympics.
Yeah.
What is it that's driving Emma? Is it the medal? Is it the Olympics? Is it, so you said now it's being the best you can be, but then was it something different?
When I found out I was injured pre-Olympics and it was going to be a very tight turnaround, we had a very slim line of trying to get back for it. I think you kind of go into a whole different mentality. And weirdly, like mentally, I didn't allow myself to even think that there was a possibility of not making it. I think it was kind of like, well, we're doing it. Like this is what we're setting out to do. And you build 3 years then into an Olympics, and like I'm not missing it now. And I was very lucky to have some great people around me to help me, to allow. It wasn't, yes, there was a risk pushing it, but they'll never let me do a risk so big that I wasn't able to play it onwards afterwards. So I think what kind of pushed me to do that was, I think, the second Olympics. But I think the medal was always in it. But I think sometimes you can't jump straight to the medal. I think we do this sometimes. We always used to do this pre-selection, is actually we go, okay, what's your biggest aim? Like, what's your goal? And you're like, so many people jump to the medal. But for me, it's like, I couldn't jump to the medal until I know that I was selected. So it's almost like stages of goals. Is the first one's the selection. Second one is like, right, let's get out there and be the best place I can be in. And then the medal comes. So I think there's sometimes like small stages in my mind that allows you to achieve your biggest goal with that.
I'm really intrigued to know, what would Emma, who's now on the 2025, what would you say to Emma that's struggling at school, training, strong family behind you? You can't change it, but would you give a piece of advice to younger Emma?
I think the biggest one is like, just try and soak up where you are in the moment. I struggled with academic side. I also had glandular fever in school as well, so that's why I ended up going into rugby. But I think there's so many times where you're in the moment, but you almost are trying to aim for more, and you forget that like this moment and where you are, you can learn so much from it. And I think that I mean, every person's guilty of it, right? Like, you want to be better and you want to achieve this, you want to achieve that, rather than actually standing back and going, no, actually, like, I played rugby for a sport, or, you know, in school, like, where you are and how much you don't need to care about a thing. In reality, like, when you're in school, you thought that, you know, GCSEs was the biggest thing ever. In the grand scheme of things, it's just a stepping stone. And I think that's probably where you get so wrapped up. Actually, like, don't stress about it too much. Like, enjoy it and do what you love, and actually then everything will come from it.
I absolutely love that. That's the kind of love what you're doing, and the next thing will take care of itself. And it sounds like that is almost what you've done with the Olympics: selection first, then squad. Then you mentioned people around you. You've always mentioned your parents. Female rugby players have used social media. I'm not sure if they needed it, but certainly it seems like it's an enjoyable place to be. Probably making themselves far more accessible than some of the male players do, but the male players don't necessarily need it to raise the profile. There's a lot of coffee drinking, but there also seems to be a lot of socializing. Your teammates are there for you to keep you in the moment, I suppose. But those bonds appear to me, looking through that tiny little false window of social media, those bonds appear to be very strong with your teammates.
Yeah, and I think Sevens develops that even more, because you're such a small squad. You learn about each other so much. And like, my best mates now are all from Sevens and all from rugby. You end up, like, there's one of the girls now that are in the squad. I've been in and out of the program with England from under 20s since I first started when I was 16, and now we're playing together in the World Series. So I think you always end up running into people, but I think Sevens is, you're so tight knit. Like, they're my best mates and they can't get rid of me now, so I'm kind of stuck with them. Well, they're stuck with me either way, so
The Sevens bit does it. I don't know if you were ever a fan of The Simpsons. There's a Simpsons episode where a yo-yo display team comes into the school and shows the yo-yos, and then they get bundled into a minivan and taken away to the next school. But they've inspired everybody with the yo-yos. And I've always looked at that and thought that's what Sevens is like. You all get bundled into Hong Kong, and then you get bundled into Singapore, and some of your mates become people from the other side of the world, but you spend actually a heap of time together. There must be times where you just need to get away and be on your own.
Yeah, there's definitely, like, I think there's always different people in the squad, right? There's some people that need their own space to regenerate, and there's other people that get their energy from others. And I think because we're so tight knit, sometimes actually having, like, we come back from a tournament, normally have a week at home to, like, regenerate, and actually sometimes it's not a bad thing. And I think sometimes in 15s you've got to get the team together then, where actually in Sevens is because we're so tight knit, like, you can have a week away from each other and it's absolutely fine. It's like family almost. Like, you know, everyone has those, like, probably when you move back to your parents, is you love them so much, but actually having the week away is sometimes a little bit relaxing. So I think that's the thing, is you're almost so tight knit, you class each other as family, and actually having a week away doesn't change a thing. Actually just makes you more excited to see them again. So I think that's why we're really lucky. We're actually, like, the regeneration weeks are actually good for us, because we actually makes us do something different than rather than just hang with each other. And actually, when we all used to live near each other, but sadly we don't all live near each other anymore, used to see them anyway every weekend and have coffee with them and have brunch. I think some of the girls that used to live here, you'd say goodbye to them on a Friday and then see them on a Sunday for coffee anyway, and then go, oh, see you tomorrow. So I think you almost can't get away from each other. So I think sometimes it's quite nice to force each other to have something outside of, you know, rugby.
And what's your role within the squad? So are you the listener? Are you the energizer? Or does it change depending on where you are and what you've been up to?
Yeah, I think it definitely changes. I think I'm always one of those, like, I'll see how many people I can annoy, you know, hide a shoe here and there, and, you know, those classic ones, and try and get away with it as much as I can. So I think it always naturally changes when the squad changes. But yeah, some of them, because they're obviously your best mates, you just hang around with them so much. But yeah, I love hiding a shoe, and every now and again, and when everyone's not looking, hide their coffee. It's quite a good little game to play.
Who's your go-to when you need a hug in the squad?
It's definitely changed over time. Like last year, it was definitely Lisa Thompson, Tomo. Like through the Olympics, she's my roomie during the Olympics. So, you know, me and her could spend every minute together and not get bored of each other.
Right, hang on. I need
well.
to butt in here. How long did it take you to tune into the accent?
No, I'm really bad at accents, so luckily never. But we're very similar as people, so we end up like pretty much doing everything together. We were like almost twins, but just a little bit different, same, different. So
Have you ever been to visit Lisa in her habitat in Hoyk?
no, but I am planning to. So yeah, we're in chat. So I'm definitely going to try and see her down there. And I'm going to drag her along to Sweden sometime. So yeah, she's definitely not getting rid of me.
I think the bigger culture shock will be you visiting Hoyk rather than her visiting Sweden.
Her in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, I know. We were actually in camp in Glasgow, I think. And we went into a lift and there was someone from Hoyk there.
Yeah.
And we were like, right, out of everywhere, how have we walked into a lift and we found someone from the smallest little city, like little town possible? We were like, this is not, how has we done this? We were all in shock.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, in Hoyk, they've got a saying that a day out of Hoyk is a day wasted. So whoever you met in Glasgow was wasting a day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I'm looking forward to that. I reckon we get Channel 4 or Netflix to follow you on your trip to Hoyk. I reckon that's definitely an hour-long special that would be worth watching. I love that that's happened, because you wouldn't have met Lisa Thompson if it wasn't for the game. You wanted to be a swimmer. Was that a professional? Did you want that to be your job when you were younger?
Yeah, when I was younger, I don't think I ever saw it as a job, because I don't think swimmers get paid loads. I don't think that was like especially I think growing up, I never really saw sport as a job. I always knew I wanted to be involved in sport, and athlete was like my ultimate way of wanting to live. But I think as a swimmer, I just enjoyed it so much that that was my way of being able to be an athlete. And I was trying to hit times, but sadly when I was trying to hit a national time, I got glandular fever, so that kind of all just stopped there. And the reason I picked rugby was because I was very lucky that I had someone in school, a teacher that gave me the opportunity to do that. So it's actually now 3 girls in sevens that all went to the same school at one point. So I was very lucky that she gave me that opportunity, and I played a little bit of touch when I was younger. So I didn't then pick rugby because I knew it was a career pathway. I actually picked rugby because I loved it. And then I was just very lucky that was then became a pathway for me to be able to call this my job, and I'm very lucky to do so. So I always knew I wanted to be involved in sport and be an athlete. But I don't think per se I thought this is the sport I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to get paid. I think I was just very lucky that I was talented enough and gave enough of my energy to be able to call it a job.
And that's you back to something you said earlier. You were just doing it really, really well, and actually the next thing took care of itself.
Yeah, when I started rugby, I nowhere near was the athlete I am today. You know, I was fit because of swimming. I had a massive, like an engine, and I was energetic. And I went to my first few trials, and I didn't know a thing about rugby, but I knew that if I went with energy and I ran around and showed them how fit I was and how I wasn't scared, that hopefully they'll give me an opportunity. And I was very lucky that they did, and I took the opportunity. So, you know, I did it because I loved it. No, I did not know anything. I didn't even know how to pass a ball and that you needed to pass backwards. But, you know, I learned on the job. So swimming did give me a lot of the base to who I am today.
And going into 15s, did you have a clue what sevens was? When was the sevens awakening?
Yeah, sevens was quite quick on the cards because there was England development. And I was very lucky that I knew of people that had social sevens tournaments. So I would basically play my 15s during the season and then basically wait for summer to play sevens. So that's kind of what I was kind of hoping to do all season, is play my 15s, then go and play sevens for summer. And I was very lucky that Dad, you know, drove me to every competition in France or wherever they were. So I had the opportunity to play sevens, and I did that, and I was very lucky that then I got the opportunity to sign a contract. But yeah, every summer I was basically just chasing sevens. Yeah.
and then Simmons started chasing you, and
Yeah,
and you get into Simmons, and at that point, England was the thing.
Yeah.
And its own program, all the home countries with their own programs, and that England team, a number of those players are playing 15s or have played 15s or maybe still involved in the GB program. When you look at that journey, and you've not really, I'm sure your voice has been listened to, but you've not had a role in shaping what it's become. Were you just head down and keep working hard and always wanted to stay within the Sevens program?
Yeah, I think I love it so much, and I love the game, and I think the game suits me as a player. I do love 15s, and actually the older I've got, the more I would love to give 15s a shot. And I would love to go and, try for a World Cup, or, try for a Six Nations, or just go back to club and really enjoy a season. I would love to do that. But I think I just love Seven so much I haven't yet been able to walk away. I've been in since England days, since 2018, and I went through lockdown and us all losing our jobs, to then not knowing the certainty of the program, to them going to Tokyo, to now everything changing again, to then going to Paris. So I think I've been on such a journey with Sevens, but my love for it has never changed. So I think, I would love to give 15s a shot, but I just don't know when it's going to fit in right now. Because I would love to do another Olympics and get a medal at the Olympics, and then maybe it's time to then give 15s a shot. I'm not sure.
If you're going to do an Olympics in LA sounds like a pretty cool thing. The Commie Games in Birmingham, I was there for the finals session when the Lionesses won, and the whole place went wild. And we were all watching top level Sevens. I know that not all teams were there, but it was still a ridiculously high standard of Sevens, and that was obviously the farewell to Scotland, England, Wales as Sevens programs. And that connection is an interesting one we might get to. But how did it feel being at what was a home competition, the multi-sport? You've been to Olympics, I know that, but not at home. I know Birmingham's not necessarily home, but you get what I mean. What was that experience like? Because to me, as a spectator, I was there with my wife and my two girls. We met friends there, bumped into some of the players there, bumped into, the Scotland parent group that just follows them around all over the place. It just felt like such a feel-good environment to be in. But there was probably a bit of a cloud hanging over you guys.
Yeah, I think the GB side of stuff, of us going GB, I think as a women's program, I think just made us stronger. So we got some of the, the real strong girls from Scotland, Wales, and actually I think together we got a really strong team. I think for the men's side, it was really hard because there's a lot of players. I think for women, it's easier to then go back into 15s because there's a really good 15 setup, where I think the Sevens boys wise, you lost a lot of players. And there was a lot of players that were very, very good Sevens players, but probably would get lost in the 15s system because there's just so many players. So I think as a women, we're probably a little bit more excited than what probably the men were. So I think, and it's always sad to then not know if you're going to then play in that rose again or not. But I think a home commies was really special. You didn't have to travel and you felt fresh. And, actually, we always laugh about it now. But my mum was actually in Sweden. So I actually only had my dad and a family friend in the crowd. So as much as a home commies, I actually didn't have that much support there. Because my mum went to Sweden and thought, oh, do you know what? I can watch you on TV. And I thought, Mummy, it's a home commies. You know that, right? She was like, oh, yeah, but, I want to be with the family. I thought, okay, fine. So I think, it was really special and it was really busy. And I think that's kind of where it made us kind of see how many people were investing in Sevens and how many people love it. And even if people didn't know the sport, had never seen it before, they were there to support you as England. And I think that was really special because it's one of the only major competitions you get to do as England, because the Olympics is as GB. So I think that kind of makes it a little bit more special as well as being able to do a GB tournament and an England tournament. So it definitely is a special side to it.
Yeah, I thought, and it was blue sky and sunshine for the whole sevens
Yeah, it was lovely,
tournament
wasn't
in
it?
Birmingham. It was just incredible. The ticketing frustrated me, and the silly having to go out for a session and you guys sit around and
Yes,
kick
that
your
was
heels for a
weird.
bit. That was really frustrating.
Yeah, because there's a massive gap, wasn't there? And
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I'd rather have paid more for a ticket and kept everybody together for an hour and a half rather than going outside for a walk and coming back in. But anyway, that's I'll
go for a
take that
coffee
up with I'll take that with the organising committee. You then go into GB, you start looking at Olympics. The first
Yeah.
Olympics completely different from the second, not completely different, but Tokyo with no one there other than the athletes and the officials. Paris, not a home Olympics, but just looked unbelievable in a stadium that was unbelievable. Different experiences, but both obviously life memories.
Yeah, Tokyo was so quiet. Like the only reason you knew that it was an Olympics is looking up in the stadium and seeing the Olympic rings on the side. And I think coming fourth was really, really hard as well, especially when we knew we definitely could have been in that medal opportunity. And I was really lucky then to experience Paris as well, because yeah, it was completely different. And then it kind of made you actually realize how busy those Olympic Games are. And Paris for me was very special. I think coming back from an injury, which I didn't even know if I was going to make it back, to then, you know, missing out on a medal opportunity in the quarters on day 2, and then having to get up for day 3. I think these are the hardest games I've ever had to play mentally. You know, I went to bed crying, woke up crying, and you're not even thinking about it, and you're just drained. And I think it made me realize why I play the sport. You know, you try and push so much for a medal, and that's all you want, and all you kind of set your dreams to be is to get the medal. But when I was doing my lap of honor after the last game, no matter where I was in the stadium, I could look up and I could see a GB flag in one of the tiers. And it kind of just made me realize that they're here to support us as athletes and as Team GB. You know, we didn't get a medal. We could have done a lot better and finished a lot better to where we finished. And we all knew that we didn't play our best out there, but they still supported us. And I think it made me realize that actually a part of it, yes, is for the medal. And yes, I would love one. But the main reason I play it is because I love it. And playing the sport because I love it, I'm inspiring other people to follow their dreams, whether that's sport, whether that's, you know, any job that they could possibly want to do, or any path career that they wanted to do, is they follow their dreams just like that I've done with mine. And I think that's kind of made it special, is I'm so thankful for it now looking back. I wasn't at the time. But after that day 3 made me realize, you know, yeah, I am sad, and you know, I've had so many extreme emotions over the weekend, but I love this game, and this is why I play the sport, and I'm very lucky to have experienced what I experienced.
Had you watched the Olympic sevens on TV before Tokyo? Had you watched and thought, or was it still not really on your radar then?
Yeah, I'd watched a little bit, but it hadn't really been on my radar to play. It's more whenever we used to watch the Olympics, you watch anything that's on, but I wouldn't chase it to watch it. I did watch the finals, I think in London. I remember watching that, but yeah, other from that, just kind of whack it on and watch any sport possible, really.
Was there, or have you had moments where you've been able, so you've kind of mentioned it on that lap of honor, but has there been a moment in the middle of a pitch, or as you run out a tunnel, or in a changing room, or when someone comes up to you and you've had a little moment of clarity that, wow, look where I am, or look where I've got to?
Yeah, I think sometimes I've become more aware of that side of stuff and actually just appreciating where I am. So I think every time I run out now from whatever tournament I'm in, I always look up and look around and actually go, it's a pretty cool place to be. And this is why I do it. So I think definitely as I've got on in my career, I've done a lot more, you know, look around, look at my players that are with me, and then look around and actually just appreciate where I am for a minute. So I think definitely the further in your career, the more appreciative you get of where you are.
And I suppose a part of that also comes with being there with who have become your best mates. You're sharing. Swimming's a funny one because people think it's an individual, but the more I'm involved with my daughter, the team around her is the coach, our our teammates, the parent supporters. It is a team, but that sevens environment is so intense. You're on flights, you're in waiting rooms, you're in hotels, you're on buses, you're training, you're in the physio room. To stand in the middle of a field in front of 40,000 people in Hong Kong or at an Olympics with some of your best mates, that must just fill you up.
Yeah, I think the difference, like everyone says this to me about swimming. Everyone's like, was it an individual sport? And I'm like, no, I appreciate that. It is an individual sport. However, they were my family. Like I was so tight knit to everyone in that swimming group. Like we were like brothers and sisters, but you're still performing for yourself and you're still competing for yourself. Where I think with sevens and any team sport is, and I've been very lucky to, experience both of them. With rugby is you're still brothers and sisters, but I'm competing for someone. I'm doing my actions out there, not just for myself, but also for you. But I think that's a slight little difference is I'm still tight knit with both of them. I would still say I had a family in both sides of sports, but one is I'm competing for someone else and I'm also relying on them to compete for me and, to perform for me. So I think there's always going to be another layer of trust and bond between you and a person who, you put your body on the line for and they do the same for you.
What are pool recovery sessions like when you're there?
I know everyone's.
Do you have to do more than everybody else, right? Everybody, you do 2 legs. Emma, you do 6.
I do. I normally bring my goggles still and put my hat. I always put it in my bag, and I'm like, I can't bring it out because I can't do it. So sometimes I'm the one doing laps, and everyone's there, doing a few like strokes and like kicking and being on the side of the pool, and I'm swimming laps and like doing some underwater lengths of holding my breath just because I like the feeling of being underwater, and I think it's really good recovery for me. But it is funny, every time I'm injured as well, I'm very lucky that I can then just get in and swim. They're like, oh, do you want to do a bike session or swim? I'm like, please, I do not want to sit on a bike for 20 minutes.
Yeah, and so many rugby players absolutely hate a swimming pool because they just sink, or they've never really, and they've not got the shoulder flexibility to actually pull properly. Or so you getting in there, you must put a whole load of them to shame. Who do you challenge to a race because you're saying you're a bit of a pest and a nuisance? Are you saying to Abby, come on, I'll give you a head start?
Yeah, no, I'm not actually normally a racer, to be honest. I normally just come up and annoy him, to be honest. Yeah, that time I annoy because I know that some girls hate that and like, hate getting their hair wet, the classic. So, I'm normally by myself swimming, but yeah, I try and annoy him. Like if they are going underwater, then they might be dunked here and there.
I think your brother's a rugby player, isn't he? Or plays
he does
rugby?
a little bit of rugby, yeah.
And where did that fit in the timeline? Did he start before you did?
No, he's actually younger than me. So I actually used to be his coach. I coached him for a long time. Yeah, so he's how many years younger is he than me? He's just turned 20 now. So he's 7 years younger than me. And when he was going through Colts through London Scottish, obviously it used to just be parents that coached them. And I'd been involved in London Scottish anyway because I'm an S&C coach. I'd done a lot of the S&C with some of the academy boys. So I'd been involved in the club. And when I was down there in one of their sessions, they asked if they wanted help coaching. So I kind of stepped in. And from that, I then became one of their coaches. So whenever I was back down, I would coach them. So I've, coached him for a long time growing up through all of his, pathway stuff. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I think he enjoyed it. He had no complaints. So, but
and your
yeah,
parents are delighted because they've got no rugby experience, but it's like, oh no, she can do her volunteering stint. We'll get Emma to do it.
I always used to use him for demos. I think he hated it towards the end because I was like, I can do a demo on my brother, but I can't do it on anyone else. I think he hated it towards the end. But yeah, so I coached him for a long time, and now he's at uni in Cardiff, so he plays a little bit, but I think he's kind of stopped off a little bit and got into the gym and academic side of stuff. He's the brains of the family, so I think he's taken that route now.
Was there something quite nice about you being the sort of rugby expert in the house? It wasn't a family thing. That wasn't, they must have wondered what you were up to.
Yeah, I think my mum hated rugby to start. Like, hated rugby. So she's Swedish, and in her family, like it's handball or ice hockey. Like they're the ones you go for. So I actually tried handball for a little while when I was debating what sport to do. didn't love it as much as Mum, I think, hoped that I would. But at the start, she just didn't understand rugby because she had never seen it before, and now she absolutely loves it. So we take the piss out of her quite a lot for that. But yeah, I think it's quite nice to not do something that I've just followed off. I've kind of created my own pathway and created the only thing that I want to do. You know, my mum and dad always pushes into things, but it would only really push you if you really loved it. So I think, like, when I said I wanted to stop swimming, Dad took me seriously because I never ever had said anything like that before to him, that I didn't want to do a sport. But it is nice to do something completely different. And, you know, we can talk about it now and we can joke about it. And, you know, me and my brother still sometimes do one-on-ones when it's summer and mess about. So, and it's quite fun because I still win. So I actually enjoy that side of it.
I love that. That competitive animal's never really going away, is it?
No, I know. And like, I've grown up play fighting my brother and my dad. So like that side of stuff is quite fun as well, because the stronger I get is actually I'm still winning them as well. So that's also fun.
I was going to say, you'll still be kicking ass now.
Yeah. So it's always fun with that side of stuff.
And as you look to the future, the sport has become a huge part of your life, not necessarily defining you, but you're saying your best mates are now your teammates. You know, it's given you the chance to travel and to grow in your confidence and all those other great things, and giving you an outlet for your energies. Yeah. When you stop playing, is it strength and conditioning? Is it coaching? Is it mentoring? Where do you see the future?
It changes all the time, and it has done for a long time. You know, I started off wanting to do strength conditioning for a whole team. And then it went into, you know, doing strength conditioning PT for small people and like small little groups and, you know, individuals. But I know I'm going to be involved in it somehow. I really like the idea of, you know, S&C stuff. I love the idea of PT stuff. I also love the idea of mentoring. But I think one bit that I'm actually really trying to do more of is motivational talks. So I've gone into a few schools and in front of groups and actually speak about my journey, because I haven't had an easy run. I've changed sports, got glandular fever, which forced the change in sports. I have had a major injury pre-Olympics twice, pre-Paris and pre-Tokyo. So mentally I had to deal with that, and then mentally I had to deal with losing my job and, you know, falling back in love with the sport again. And I think I've had struggles as well, you know, with a lot of women struggle with their body image and that side of stuff as well. So I think I've had a lot of things that I've learned about over the time of my career, especially coming in not knowing the sport, is a lot of it's been around my energy and how I had to apply myself to kind of take the opportunities, get given opportunities. So I really like the side of motivational talking and kind of sharing my experiences with that, whether they get into rugby or whether they do anything that they want to do. So I really enjoy that side of stuff as well. So I think somewhere along that is I would love to develop that side of, you know, what I do outside of sport. But I also love the S&C side. So there's somewhere in there that hopefully I can mix them all together.
Yeah, well, the motivational speaking, your hook is do it passionately, the thing that's right in front of you, and the other stuff will happen, because that's, you know, your life's a testament to that. And I can see all those things happening. Would you be a gladiator like Jodie?
Not sure. My mum actually was on one of the first gladiators in Sweden, so I think she would happily push me to be on that side of stuff. But no, I think I'll leave that to Joe's, to be fair. I don't think I can compete with her. She can stay on that side of stuff.
You don't want to compete with her in gladiators or carrying coal. That's her latest.
I think I'd much rather, you know, maybe teach her or coach her to do that. So
yeah. Okay, yeah, I like that. I like that idea. You mentioned it there, and it wasn't necessarily something I was going to speak to you about, but just recently they've said about getting rid of accounts that are abusive towards women, getting towards the Women's World Cup and body image. I see London Marathon are not using a certain social media platform because of the abuse that people have received, like Ailish McColgan, the Scottish runner, for her body. There's so much in there, but you guys put yourself out there, you know, not every day, and as a Sevens squad, and the female rugby players have already said are active on social media. The positives must outweigh the negatives.
No, 100%. They definitely do. I think the negatives always take a toll more than positives. I think, you know, you'll have 5 positive things and 1 negative thing does stick in your head a lot more. And I think people are so quick or so easy to throw these things out rather than actually thinking the toll that it can have on people. And you know, when I was struggling with time, my dad hasn't always been well. There's a point where he wasn't very well at all. So, and I think with that is mentally having to then deal with that. And then if someone says something negative to me, is they don't know what's going on with my home life. And I think that made me react, where actually it made me realize that you have no idea what's going on with people at home. You have no idea what their experiences are, what they're struggling with mentally. So you throwing out a comment which you might not see as very big could be very detrimental to people. So I think the biggest one is with the whole social media, and we learn about it a lot around the Olympics, is actually, you know, turn off comments or, you know, block certain words, or like for me, you have to follow me to make a comment on my Instagram. So I think stuff like that can just protect you, because I think there's a lot of people that wouldn't say it to your face, but behind a screen are very easy to chuck things out. And I think it's a world which is, you can go into a spiral very easily and needs to be protected, but there are ways to protect yourself on social media, which, you know, we're very lucky to have learnt about. And I think people should know you can hide comments and you can hide certain words. And yes, it's very easy to get dulled down into the negatives because they stick with you a bit more, but actually still focus on inspiring people. And actually, people need to see that there isn't a perfect world. You know, I gained 10 kilos when I did my hammy, and actually, but that's made me a better person. And rugby has taught me that being a little bit bigger and being heavier actually allows me to do my job. And because I feel more powerful, actually, then I accept my body. And yes, there is moments I still struggle with it, but actually I like feeling strong now. I actually like feeling a bit bigger because I know that contact wise I'm protected, my injury risk is lower. So I think focusing on that, and luckily I have something to focus on that keeps me going. But yes, there's always going to be moments, and I think people just need to really think what they're saying before they post stuff, but you also can really protect yourself from it as well.
There's so much in there for that future career that you're talking about that's really powerful in what you said. When you look back to Emma the swimmer, were you conscious then? Because I go to swim meets, and I know not everybody is exuding confidence, but to expose yourself in that way in front of people, you know, spectators, adults, your peers, who are the most challenging group to, you know, be vulnerable in front of. Is this something that's happened later? Were you aware of it when you were swimming?
Yeah, it happened when I was swimming as well. I think being in a swimming costume the whole time, you naturally do feel that way. But I think with swimming is, I saw a lot of different body types, and everyone's body types were different. So I think that did help me, and I didn't think about it too much then. I think also getting in a swimming costume that's probably 3 sizes too small didn't help at times. And, you know, I actually wore my sister's swimsuit, who's a lot smaller than me, and split it completely on the blocks before. So that also wasn't great. But yeah, it wasn't my finest moment. But I think it happened more, I think, during an age rather than where I was. And it was more like my off season and like around school. I think it's actually more around girls that didn't play sport, and then girls that did. So I always compared myself probably to people that didn't play sport, or, you know, back when I was growing up, on social media, you probably did see the really small girls, but they didn't play sport. You know, I grew up with the time of like the thigh gap era, and actually, you know, I never had one, but it's because I played sport and I needed my thighs for my sport that I was playing when swimming. I was never going to have that. So I think it's just understanding there's going to be different body types, and luckily now the generation that's coming through now is a lot more around being strong, and there's more people doing CrossFit, there's more people competing. So actually the girls now are being exposed to that more. You know, like Ilona Maher as well, you know, she's putting it out there and everyone putting it a more of a non-filtered version. It shows girls that they can look completely different and they can feel completely different, and that's normal. So And like one of my best mates made a comment to me. She was like, "Oh, I don't want to go to the gym and get big." And I'm like, right, hold up. I've been going to the gym for 10 years and I'm still not big and I still don't have biceps. So if you go to the gym and get big in a month, please tell me a trick. So I think that's what people need to understand is it takes a long time and you need to eat right to build muscle. And you actually need to do everything really well to build that muscle. And it's really hard, loads of us try and sometimes don't get to where you want to get to. So luckily more people are being unfiltered with it and showing a different side to it.
And the place is healthier now, I think, than it's been through people like yourself talking the way you are and exposing, the reality of it. Ilona Mars obviously jumped everything forward, hopefully quite a few years, even though she still seems to pick up those idiots that we were talking about before. When you look at the future, women's rugby in the time you've been involved has travelled a huge distance. When you look into your crystal ball, where do you see it in 5-10 years time?
I think it's just going to grow. I think we are behind the men's game naturally, because they got this exposure way before. When I started out, it was actually only the sevens girls that had the contracts originally, and then the 15s got the contracts. And more people now in England are contracted, more people are able to do it as a career. I still think there is a massive jump with allowing club players to get more money, to allow them to be full-time so they don't have to work. There's a lot of girls still that are expected to have a 9-to-5 job and then come and perform as well. And I think that's so hard to do. And it's so hard to get better having to do that. But I can really, when I think about the future of women's sport, I think it's just going to grow. I think more people are going to watch it. More people are going to actually watch it, enjoy watching it. And just the investment, I think, is going to go up. I think there's a balance between almost having to have the investment to allow the results, but the results aren't quite there yet because we haven't got the investment. So it's a little bit of like one of those, you understand both sides of it. But I think it's just going to grow. I think more people are going to realize that people do love watching the sport. It's no different. Maybe we play the game a little bit differently, but that's just because men and women biologically are different. So the sport is never going to be identical. And also individuals as well. You're not going to ever have the same individual in a sport. So that's what's so fun about it. So I can just see it getting better, getting stronger, have more people watching, being able to play on bigger stages, having more exposure. So I think it's just going to go up. And I'm really lucky that I kind of have been involved in the sport from the beginning and actually been able to see this growth and be involved in the growth as well.
Yeah, it's been incredible. And you see the cabbage patch just down the road from you becoming the Red Roses patch, and the exposure that Stuart Green's given to it seems like a small thing, but it's a big thing. And and they all count. When you look at the sevens and the future for GB, where's realistic target for the GB women's squad?
I think we're getting more and more consistent. I think we can pull out some incredible results. We can pull out some incredible performances. But I think because we've chopped and changed so much between England and GB and coaching staff, and it's just that consistency piece for us. And that's what we're just always trying to chase, is being more consistent, having people that are going to stay for a block and be able to grow. We have girls that come over 15s, and I think people forget that it takes a little while to get used to sevens. Like you just can't come in straight away and be at the level that you want to perform at, and it takes a little while. We always say it takes girls probably a few months to a year to actually really, really get their flow of them performing really well in sevens. So I think for us, I think if we keep building consistency, I think, the medal on the cards for LA Olympics is definitely there. So I think that's the biggest one, is actually us chasing consistency, chasing the results that we know we can. I think that's why we get so frustrated at times, because we're like slightly off, and that's how it feels, and how it has felt, is we're just slightly off. Something is not quite clicking where we know we have it, and that's where the frustration sometimes comes. But that's also sevens, that's what's so amazing about sevens, is you have two teams and you have no idea who's going to win. Just because one person won the series one last leg, it doesn't mean they're going to win it again, and you have no idea what way the games are going to go. So I think that's what's so exciting about sevens right now, is it's getting stronger. The teams are getting more competitive across men and women. You have no idea who's going to win coming out of each game. So I think that's what's so exciting about sevens. But I think we're pushing these teams more and more, but actually it's just that final little click that we need to get, and like it is coming. It's just being patient enough that it will come.
Love it. Very quick ones. Best player you've played with?
I'm gonna have to say Tomo. I just love playing with her. Lisa Thompson. I think it's because I click with her really well, and I think her skill set is outrageous. But then I love playing with Jazzy, so as well. There's a lot of players, but I think bond-wise, I think me and Tom's are always on the same page, and I always loved playing with her.
Nice, love that. And best player you played against?
I think right now, Maddie Levi has to be up.
Do you enjoy that, being in the same hotel as the people that you've just been knocking lumps out of and the people that you're going to knock lumps out of tomorrow? Do you enjoy that, or is it a bit uncomfortable until everything's finished and then you can relax?
It definitely is weird. It's very different to 15s. I think sometimes you're all friends to start with, and then on game day you somehow just don't talk until afterwards as well. So I think it's definitely different. But I think that's what makes 7 so special, is it is very different to 15s.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. Emma, I've absolutely loved speaking to you. I could go on and on because there's so much in there, and I've got no doubt all those things you've told me about the future, I've got every reason to believe that they're going to come true. I'm going to finish with just this one. So for me, happiness is egg-shaped, but for you, Emma, happiness is?
Doing what you love.
Doing what you love. And we'll put that on a mug and a T-shirt, and Emma Uren says, happiness is doing what you love. All the best. I hope it goes really well, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Thanks a lot, Emma.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
How good. So much in there, and could have been there for a whole heap longer, but I think lots of lessons to learn from the past and a lot to look forward to in the future. But what an inspiring person, just fills you up with positivity. There's so much going on. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, there's a whole back catalogue to listen to on Apple, Acast, Spotify, Google, wherever else you get your podcasts. You can watch on Facebook and YouTube. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. For me, happiness is egg-shaped. My name is Bruce Aitchison from the Happiness Is podcast, and I look forward to speaking to you all again very, very soon. But in the meantime, look after yourselves. Thank you.